We're going to have our Vision 2026 broadcast in January, where we're going to get to hear what's in store for 2026 from our founder and CEO, David Schmidt, and President Meredith Burkich. So make sure you're checking your emails next week for details on time and how you can tune in. Also, qualification period for regional incentive trips is going to run through February 22nd. The qualification period for the beautiful Italy presidential trip is running through April 12th. And also, we're getting such incredible feedback from the product and technology launches that we had here at conference, including the LifeWave Now app, which is a very powerful tool to help you grow your LifeWave business. So if you're not already using the app, make sure you go to lifewavenow.com to learn more and to register and to start experiencing the benefits. And today we get to continue our product conversation and learn more about a wellness approach to skincare from our founder and CEO, David Schmidt. And so, as always, if you have any questions, make sure you post in the chat, and we will do our best to answer those questions throughout today. But without further ado, I'd like to turn the time over to our founder and CEO, David Schmidt. David, welcome.
Wayne, great to see you. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, and even better now that I'm on this webinar. Excited to learn more about LifeWave's incredible products from you. It's
Well,
literally the highlight of every month for me.
thank you. That's very kind of you to say that. And I bet people that are tuning in today to watch this think that they're going to be learning about our skincare line and the health of the skin. And that's actually not completely true because we always like to over deliver on LifeWave Connect along with everything else. So we're going to be going into much more in depth, not just about the health of the skin and, of course, practical things that people can do, which include our products, but very far beyond that. But we're going to be looking at the mechanisms as to why the skin breaks down, why people have issues. And I'll throw this out as a teaser. I'm even going to include information on a product that's completely non-toxic that can be applied to the skin to treat a variety of different skin disorders, such as skin cancer, for example. There's completely non-toxic, non-drug ways of dealing with these things. So we're going to be talking about this today. We'll also talk about how to fight back against the effects of aging and protect your skin against aging, amongst other things. This is also a good time to remind people that I am not a medical doctor. I'm not a health practitioner. We don't provide medical advice. Anything that we bring up here is for informational purposes only. And so people should take any of the information they find interesting and take it to their doctor.
Well, I know that we're all very excited to learn more. Again, especially as I've gotten a little older and hit a big milestone birthday here last year, I'm becoming much more concerned with my skin health and also know that it's a reflection of my overall health. So I can't wait to dig into more today and just continue to learn. And I will be taking notes furiously here.
All right, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get started.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. Yeah, actually, Wayne is bringing up a really good point, is that our appearance, the quality of our skin, is a reflection on what's going on inside. Of course, we know that collagen is the most abundant protein in the body. So when we think about the health of our skin, one of the first things that comes to mind is how do we improve the amount of collagen that our skin produces so we can reduce the appearance of lines and wrinkles. But it actually goes a lot deeper than that because the quality of our skin is directly related to the health of our overall body. So if you see someone with healthy, vibrant skin, the odds are that inside their body, they're healthy as well. Reason for this is that collagen is jello. It's a gel that is it's called the cytoskeleton, and it holds together the integrity of the cell. So the organs of the cell are called the organelles. And of course, the one we talk about here the most at LifeWave is the mitochondria. It is the power generation center of the cell. But the organelles, as they're called, they have to adhere to something in the cell, and this is called the cytoskeleton, and that's made of collagen protein. Collagen is produced in the fibroblasts, and at about age 20 to 25, the amount of collagen that our cells produce starts a steady decline, and this is directly correlated with aging. So when we're talking about improving the overall health of the skin, what you can keep in mind is that these are equally good strategies for improving the health of the overall body. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share screen. And I think the first thing I want to talk about today is this subject of glycation, because this has a lot to do with our diet. And as many of you know, I travel back and forth quite a bit between the United States and Europe. I live in Denmark with my wife, Christina. And one of the things I love about Europe is that the food has much lower amounts of sugar. In comparison, we know in a typical American diet, there is sugar everywhere. And actually, the number of people in the United States that are overweight or obese is about 65%. This is a huge problem. This, in part, comes from the excessive amount of calories Americans consume, all of the refined ingredients that are put into our food supply, the contaminants, and of course, excessive amounts of salt and sugar. So what is glycation? So when we have excessive amounts of sugar in the body, this sugar can bind to collagen, and over time, this can make the collagen matrix of the cell more rigid. And then this allows for a breakdown in the collagen matrix. And of course, in the skin, we see this as lines and wrinkles. So these are called advanced glycation end products. Now, the good news is that there are nutrients such as carnosine, which can manage inflammation and act as a buffer against glycation. As a matter of fact, carnosine is the most powerful anti-glycation nutrient that's ever been found. Not surprisingly, people have looked towards carnosine as a way of managing blood sugar. And so there are even some clinical studies on the use of oral carnosine for treating diabetes. And there are even in Europe eye drops that contain carnosine for improving eye health and treating a variety of disease. So this is going to be something that comes up often in skincare, is the subject of glycation. So of course, a way to prevent this is reduce the amount of processed sugar and refined carbohydrates that you have in your diet. Go to a diet that's more rich in protein and healthy fats, and we can reduce the glycation. Also, using nutrients like carnosine, we can help prevent glycation, which not only improves our overall health, but of course reduces the appearance of lines and wrinkles. So let's look at a few other factors here that have a detrimental effect on the health of the skin and what it is that we can do to combat that. The most obvious one to start with is stress. Now, this could be, when we're talking about stress, this could be embodied in the form of some type of physical stress, like exposure to excessive amounts of UV light or exposure to chemical pollutants that are in the air. Or we could be talking about emotional stress and how this leads to increased production of cortisol, elevated oxidative and inflammatory stress. So what's the connection here with the skin? Well, if we have an increased amount of inflammation, this is going to impair wound healing and our ability to make new collagen. So I'll explain this briefly. When you have, let's say that you have a chronic injury and the injury is having a hard time healing. And many of the remarkable success stories that people have with LifeWave have to do with restoration of the natural healing process and being able to heal old wounds. So let's talk for a minute about what's going on there, since this has direct impact on the quality of the skin. And not to mention, if you're just interested in reducing lines and wrinkles, then the mechanisms involved in wound healing are directly applicable to maintaining health and vitality of the skin relative to reduced lines and wrinkles. So let's talk about this. So when there is an injury, let's say that you injure your knee, there's an open cut, and now we have to wait until the body will heal. In people that are older who have impaired wound healing, one of the problems is that there are chronic levels of inflammation. There's even a term for this now in the anti-aging community, and it's called inflammaging. And what that simply means is that as we age, our capacity to remove this excess inflammation becomes diminished. Part of this is because of our ability to produce antioxidants like glutathione, natural antioxidant in the body for managing this inflammation. Why is the inflammation there in the first place? Well, you get an injury, and this prompts an increase in oxidative chemicals. These oxidative chemicals are there to destroy bacteria that could cause an infection. So we want these oxidative chemicals. We want this oxidative stress. It's part of our first line of defense for destroying bacteria. The oxidative chemicals act as signaling molecules to attract inflammation into the site. Now, the inflammatory markers, so these are C-reactive proteins, inflammatory cytokines, these will tear down the damaged tissue so that new tissue, new cells can be formed. In a normal, healthy body, antioxidants and pro-inflammatory chemicals will remove these inflammatories. In someone that's older, someone that has impaired healing, this inflammation sticks around so that when the stem cells come to the injury site, the stem cells are killed off by the inflammation. So if you have a chronic injury that won't heal, the first thing you need to do is get the inflammation under control. Products that we offer that help to manage a normal inflammatory response would be products like X39, Eon, and glutathione. Those three work incredibly well. I'd recommend you apply the glutathione or Eon patch directly to the point of inflammation, and you'll see that that will improve. Would also recommend you consume lots of water and you use natural anti-inflammatories like extra virgin organic olive oil and curcumin. So that's a little bit about that. But also, I think we're also worth pointing out is that stress, whether or not it's chemical or emotional, can lead to other things. So for example, if you're a teenager or even an adult and you suffer with acne, stress is going to make acne worse. Or especially, we know when people go through very stressful events in their lives, they can lose hair or have thinning of the hair. So this is to say we want to get stress under control. That can be done through lifestyle changes, but also including a diet that's rich in antioxidants, taking antioxidant supplements like our Celergize morning formula, or using our patches, or a variety of other methods. Okay, sleep. This would be another one to bring up. A lack of sleep is directly associated with a degradation in the quality of the skin. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? I think you're going to find this actually really interesting. So I want to start here. It has often been thought of that glutathione is the most powerful antioxidant in the body. It is a universal antioxidant or a master antioxidant. Those things are absolutely true. However, newer research the past number of years had indicated that melatonin is actually a more powerful antioxidant than glutathione, but glutathione stays around in the body for a longer period of time than melatonin does. However, there's actually even another antioxidant that looks to be more superpowered than either glutathione or melatonin, and that would be melanin. So melanin, of course, is a skin pigment, and when our bodies are subjected to UV light, our bodies will produce melanin as a way of protecting the skin from the UV light. Interestingly, we have vitamin C that's stored in the skin. So when the vitamin C levels decline, that's when the melanin is secreted. And of course, we get a very nice tan, but we're also increasing production of this powerful antioxidant. So why is this important? Well, it helps us understand this connection between stress, lack of sleep, and a degradation in the quality of the skin, as well as overall aging. When we get a good night's sleep, our bodies are going to produce growth hormone, and the growth hormone will repair the damaged cells in the body and create new collagen. When we get a proper amount of sleep, our bodies are going to have a natural increase in the amount of melatonin. And melatonin, by the way, is, I know we think of it as a hormone associated with sleep, but it's much, much more than that. Melatonin also has antiviral properties. So, for example, back during COVID, one of the very powerful antivirals that you could take to help reduce the symptoms of COVID or even help act as a prophylactic was melatonin, very high doses. In cancer therapy, taking 60 milligrams daily of melatonin. Wouldn't advise you do this unless you're under a doctor's care. But many doctors that I've spoken with, medical doctors that practice natural means for treating cancer, use very high doses of melatonin, 60 milligrams, 30 milligrams, 60 milligrams of melatonin. So really need to rethink this antioxidant. And as a matter of fact, it's so important, I pulled up a clinical study on it that you can reference. Melatonin as an antioxidant, which under promises but over delivers. So in other words, we typically think of melatonin as only being valuable for sleep, but in fact, it's much, much more important than that. Melatonin is, this is one thing I thought you'd find really interesting, is that it's thought of today that melatonin is playing a role in mitochondrial function and protecting the overall health of the mitochondria. So this is interesting because now we kind of come full circle on this. What that means is we know the health and the function of the mitochondria is directly associated with longevity. If you were at the global conference in October, which was amazing, by the way, you got to see the Doobie Brothers, Elton John, Jacob Collier, Coda Creation Film, William Shatner, great guest speakers. One of the things that I spoke about was the connection between mitochondrial health and longevity, and how there are experiments which show that age reversal is possible by getting the mitochondria to function as if it's younger and healthy. So what's interesting here is we think, okay, if we get 7 or 8 hours of sleep every night, that means our bodies are going to release melatonin, and this melatonin is going to keep our mitochondria healthy. Of course, this process will break down with time, but we can have strategies for restoring our sleep and restoring our melatonin and mitochondrial health. So this is a good way of looking at this, is it's really full circle. So surprisingly to some, you want to improve the health of your skin and reduce lines and wrinkles. Melatonin is one way to do that. Now, I also wanted to bring up some very common, inexpensive things that you can do to improve the health of the skin, which also has an impact on the overall health of the body. And one of these is extra virgin olive oil. Now, we do research on olive oil here at our LifeWave labs, and I think this is one of the most powerful foods that you can be taking. Everyone should be taking extra virgin olive oil, and 1 or 2 tablespoons per day. You want to make sure, though, that you're getting real, authentic olive oil, because many of the products that are sold in the supermarket are not authentic. I'll let you do your own research on this. So olive oil has a number of phenomenal benefits. With regards to the skin, we often think of it as, in skincare, we think of it as a moisturizer, but it's much, much more than that. So olive oil is going to function as an antioxidant. Because of the monounsaturated fats, it functions as an anti-inflammatory. There's even a study here that I wanted to reference, which shows that applying olive oil to an injury induces wound healing. There are compounds in olive oil that can help reduce the risk of getting cancer. It's compounds in olive oil that help improve our longevity. They actually trigger 2 of the sirtuin genes, the genes associated with youth. You take olive oil regularly, it turns on those genes. So when we take, what I'm suggesting is, sure, you can apply olive oil to the skin, but you get many more benefits by taking 1 or 2 tablespoons of olive oil on a daily basis. Now, one of the ingredients that we included in our Cellergize evening formula, another nutrient that we do research on here at LifeWave, would be taurine. So taurine's an amino acid. It's found naturally in the body, and it declines with age. Incredibly powerful. Taurine has been associated with cognition, health of the heart. For men, it's associated with testosterone production. Doesn't mean if you take taurine, it's going to elevate your testosterone levels, but the taurine will protect the Leydig cells, which are responsible for making testosterone. So what does taurine have to do with the quality of the skin? So interestingly, if you're taking Cellergize evening on a regular basis and you're getting your taurine, the reason why we included it in the evening formula is because it induces a state of relaxation. But here you're getting an actually additional benefit, is that this study shows that taurine improves the barrier of the skin and can even help support healthy levels of hyaluronic acid. And of course, the hyaluronic acid supports the moisture levels in the skin. So this was just an extra benefit I thought you might find interesting about Cellergize evening, is the taurine levels there, in addition to inducing relaxation, helping us sleep, also improve the health of the skin by protecting the barrier of the skin. Okay. All right, this is not helping. Here we go. Okay. Nattokinase. This is another ingredient that is in Cellergize Evening, and nattokinase has a number of truly extraordinary benefits. This is derived from the food natto, which is commonly consumed in Japan. And nattokinase is an enzyme, and it's closely associated with the health of the cardiovascular system. Now, nattokinase on its own as a means to help support healthy blood pressure levels, support circulation, reduce risks of cardiovascular disease, those benefits are extraordinary. But relative to the skin, this is something interesting. Many women have a problem with the cold, especially when it comes to poor circulation. Women will feel the cold more severely in their extremities. This is an article on a fascinating study that shows when you take nattokinase, it can actually protect you from the cold by improving skin temperature. So this isn't something we would immediately think of when we think of the health of the skin, but anyone that is affected by cold weather and has some discomfort, poor circulation, nattokinase is a way to improve skin temperature, improve circulation, and protect you from the cold. In addition, anytime we're improving our circulation, we're improving the delivery of nutrition to those cells. So nattokinase, by improving the health of the cardiovascular system, is going to improve the health of the skin. So that's an additional benefit from Cellergize Evening. Okay, now another ingredient that we have in the Cellergize Morning formula is going to be Cyanothox, and Cyanothox is a sea buckthorn extract. And this is an omega-7. And you can see that one of the benefits of it is that it's going to improve the hydration of the skin. Wanted to bring this up, though, because Cyanothox has been linked. It's an extraordinary antioxidant, so it's going to protect the skin, but it also supports collagen production. So this one ingredient that we've included in Cellergize Morning not only improves collagen production, protects the health of the skin as an antioxidant, but also is going to improve hydration levels. So that one ingredient is going to have some fantastic benefits. And here's another study on this. If you're interested in looking at a little bit more, I'll just keep going with this now. But this is an interesting study about the use of sea buckthorn oil in treatment of various skin diseases, and it's because sea buckthorn is such a powerful antioxidant, which has these anti-inflammatory properties. Okay, now I would really be remiss if I didn't bring up X39 related to the health of the skin. X39, of course, we've shown through blood tests, elevates GHKCU, otherwise known as copper peptide. Hats off to Dr. Lauren Picard. I hope he gets a Nobel Prize someday. He spent 50 years researching copper peptide. And among the extraordinary work that he did, which led to products which contain skincare products which contain copper peptide, all these marvelous benefits. So among them would be the use of copper peptide for stimulating collagen production and reducing the appearance of lines and wrinkles, even improving the elasticity of the skin. We know that copper peptide, because of the copper content, is going to help to protect our skin from UV radiation. Copper peptide is a very powerful anti-inflammatory, and that's one of our lines of defenses in protecting us from the effects of aging. A lot of other benefits to copper peptide we don't claim for regulatory purposes, and I'll let you do your own research on that. But we definitely want to bring up that use of X39 getting copper in your diet absolutely has extraordinarily powerful properties on protecting the health and the vitality of the skin. Now, I also want to mention glutathione. This is relatively basic. Of course, in the Cellergize morning formula, we included all the nutrients that are required to make glutathione, such as N-acetylcysteine, as well as selenium. We, of course, also have a glutathione patch, which elevates glutathione very rapidly within the first 24 hours of wearing it. Glutathione is the body's master antioxidant. As we say very often, studies have shown that lifespan is directly correlated to the body's glutathione levels. When we look at species with extraordinary longevity, one of the things that you see is that they have complete control over oxidative and inflammatory stress. So very important antioxidant in this process is glutathione. Very interesting studies that show if you go to an orthopedic surgeon, let's say that you're bone on your knee or your shoulder, orthopedic surgeon will say there's nothing we can do. You have to go for knee or hip replacement. Well, interestingly, in the literature now, it shows that vitamin C and glutathione will act as triggers for stem cells, which will actually regenerate lost cartilage. So in practice, you could take vitamin C, glutathione, and collagen protein to regenerate that lost cartilage. Let's say that you're someone that loves to go out in the sun, and I would encourage you to wear skincare products, protect your skin from harmful UV radiation. Make sure you get enough copper in your diet to help protect you from harmful UV radiation. But here's an interesting fact. There are studies that show that if your cells are, specifically your DNA, is damaged from UV light, if your glutathione levels are high enough, the glutathione will repair that damage to the DNA and then not pass on that damage to another cell. So having glutathione, keeping your glutathione levels elevated, protects the health and vitality of your skin. Glutathione also participates in the formation of new collagen. So we want to reduce lines and wrinkles. We want healthy cytoskeleton inside of ourselves. We want to elevate our glutathione. All right, now we talked a little bit about this before. I'll move a little bit faster now so we save some room for questions. We talked a little bit before about carnosine as a way to improve the health and vitality of the skin. So I first became interested in carnosine 20 years ago as a longevity nutrient. Carnosine is found naturally in the brain, in the heart, in the muscle tissue, in the tears to protect the eyes. And carnosine will protect the telomeres from degradation, meaning in studies that have been done on mice, it shows that two things that are extraordinary. Number one, carnosine can increase the lifespan of mice 30 to 40%. So imagine living to be 130 years old because of carnosine. In addition, in those mouse experiments, the mice did not age until the very end of their lives. So again, if this plays out in human beings, that means we have a possibility of let's say we extended our life to 130, we could stay young the majority of that time, all because of this one amazing nutrient. See how that plays out with human beings. But I definitely encourage you to take carnosine. It protects our brain, protects our heart. Using carnosine, we can improve our strength and stamina. That's one of the best things that we can do to protect our health With respect to the skin, carnosine is the most powerful anti-glycation nutrient that's ever been found, as far as I'm aware. So what that means is if you're getting a little bit too many carbohydrates in your diet, too much excess sugar, having carnosine can protect your cells from the damaging effects of sugar. This doesn't mean that you should have a lot of sugar and not worry. You should get your sugar under control, but having carnosine is definitely an insurance policy. Okay, we have X2O being released into the market in January. Should be pretty obvious that drinking water will improve the health of our skin, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I think one of the big benefits is we drink enough water and we can flush metabolic waste or other toxins out of the body, keep our liver healthy, our kidneys healthy. But if you wanted any other benefit other than cosmetic, a direct link to water consumption and reduction of lines and wrinkles. No surprise there. Big benefit with X2O is that because it has lower surface tension, the water goes right into the cell where it's needed. All right, I thought it would also be worth it. Many people today who want to improve the health of their skin, reduce lines and wrinkles, are looking at light therapy. And of course, we are a big believer in light therapy here at LifeWave. And incredibly, in regulatory bodies like the FDA, active light therapy devices are already approved for things like the treatment of acne, which is a medical condition, hair loss, reduction in fine lines and wrinkles, wound healing. And there's a whole variety of different wavelengths of light to use. A very common wavelength of light on the skin is 660 nanometers. There are many different products that are available on the market. I'm not going to recommend one over the other, but I will tell you clinically what you'll find is that 660 nanometer light for stimulation of collagen, reduction in lines and wrinkles is very well substantiated. So if you go that direction, that's a wavelength of light I would recommend. Okay, then two more things left here. I mentioned before that there was a natural material that could eradicate disease such as cancer, skin cancer. And this is nothing more complicated than ozonated oil. So I'll tell you about how this is made. It's incredibly simple. If you have the right equipment, you could make this in your home. You would start with an oil like olive oil or coconut oil. Both are very common in this process. You use an oxygen supply or what's called an oxygen concentrator, and you run that past a high voltage discharge. And there's equipment that's sold specifically for this purpose. And this makes medical grade ozone. That ozone is then bubbled through the olive oil or the coconut oil. I've made it here in the lab, incredibly easy to make, but good news is that there are companies that sell these products, so you don't need to make it yourself if you don't want to. You do want to keep these oils in the refrigerator to keep them stable. There's some pros and cons here. Again, I'm not a doctor. I recommend that you work with a doctor. But essentially, ozone provides oxidative stress. You're healing with oxygen, and you're applying this to something like a cancer cell, which does not have an antioxidant system or a sophisticated antioxidant system. And as a result, the cancer cell has no way to deal with the oxygen radical, so it dies. This is why ozone therapy, injecting medical grade ozone into the body, is so effective at treating a whole variety of different types of cancers. So for the health of the skin, you can apply an ozonated oil, like olive oil or coconut oil. Lots more information to read on this, so I would recommend, if this is something you're interested in, do your research. There's a lot online. And then the final thing, we haven't mentioned Alavita, and there's certainly a lot there. We've done other calls on Alavita, so I wanted to have this call focused mostly on the health of the skin. But one of the ingredients that we use in Alavita is a fat-soluble vitamin C. And still, after all this time, fat-soluble vitamin C is still one of the best things that you can apply to your skin. Not only will it help to protect the skin against UV light, protect the skin against aging, it also stimulates the production of collagen and can support the body's levels of hyaluronic acid. So one of the ingredients that you can take for the health of your skin, orally or topically, is vitamin C. I know it's not sexy, it's a little boring as far as nutrients go, but it still works. So Wayne, with all that, I left a little bit of time to answer some questions, but I suppose, one of the takeaway messages here is that many people, are concerned about the way they look, about their appearance. They want to improve the health of the skin. And what's exciting is that when we improve the health of the skin, we're improving the health of our overall body if strategies correctly. Another way to look at it is that if we take care of the health of our body first, we have a healthy diet, exercise, get plenty of sleep, manage our stress, get antioxidants as supplements in our food, use the patches. We do those things for our health, our skin is going to benefit as a natural consequence.
David, thank you so much for sharing this powerful and really actionable information about our general health, but more specifically today about our skin health as well. And as I was listening, it really shows the broad benefits of LifeWave products and how so many of them work synergistically together, which is one of the things in my time here that I've found so inspiring, is how you think about the entire product portfolio and not just a single benefit, but really overall a more comprehensive approach to health and wellness. And this certainly is one of the tools in the toolbox for us as we consider our overall health. Um, Lots of thank yous, lots of hearts, and lots of great questions as well. One of the questions, what's one major misconception about skin health that you wish more people understood?
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. Um, I I would say that I don't know if it's so much a misconception as I think many people focus on just the cosmetic portion of this and are thinking about applying topicals, maybe even using light therapy, hopefully not resorting to drugs for the appearance of their skin, and not looking at the bigger picture, which is the skin is a reflection of our overall health. Collagen's the most abundant protein in the body. So we really need to look at this, improving our health from the inside out. So there's certainly many good reasons why we want to use topicals. That's why we sell them. That's why we recommend them. But the health of the skin should start by taking a holistic approach, examining the diet, getting some simple nutrients in the diet like olive oil, drinking plenty of water, staying away from things that are harmful. So I don't know if it's so much a misconception, but I would say when we're thinking about skincare, we should think much more than just simply cosmetic. We should think of this as being a reflection of our overall health.
Thank you for that. You mentioned topicals, and I know we're not going to go too far into that right now. Uh, And we have, obviously, the Alavita line is such an incredible regimen for overall skin health and the appearance of skin health. As people are considering adding a product or looking for another topical, it could even be an SPF. What are some important considerations around ingredients and formulation to look out for?
Yeah, so a good way to look at this is the skin is a barrier. And when we have a device like a transdermal patch, so let's say there are companies that sell patches to help stop smoking. And the way this works is that it will wet the skin. And once the skin is wetted for a few hours, then whatever drug is in that patch can get through the barrier of the skin and get into the blood. So when we're putting ingredients onto the skin, a certain percentage of those are going to make their way into the body. So we should be thinking about, okay, whatever I put in my skin potentially gets inside of the body. So we should be looking for products that are as natural as possible.
That's great. Thank you. So as we go through our daily lives, I'm always taken aback at times by someone, maybe my age, maybe even older, that has really healthy looking skin. When considering overall skin health and wellness, how much of it is genetics versus daily habits versus environmental factors?
Well, I would say genetics absolutely play a role. Um, my brother and I often say that we're blessed with good genetics, but my brother, will walk for an hour a day. And so he's 5.5 years older than I am. Um, and so I know that unless if he was sitting around all the time, he walks for an hour a day, he plays tennis, he stays very active despite the fact that he's retired. If he didn't do those things, he would probably gain some weight. So I would say that, yeah, sure, you can be blessed with good genetics. That's part of it, but you can overcome your genetics through a healthy lifestyle. So, for example, we know that exercise will turn on 78, 79 genes that are associated with health and vitality. When we exercise, we increase our bone density, we improve our strength and stamina, and our fitness level is directly correlated with mortality. So, in other words, as we get over the age of 70, whether or not you exercise will determine whether or not you're reducing your risk of death from all-cause mortality. So that obviously doesn't have anything to do with the genes. It's all directly an action that we can take that has a beneficial outcome on our health. So this is to say that if we're exercising, drinking lots of water daily, enough water daily, we have a healthy diet, that can actually absolutely compensate for a stressful lifestyle as well as genetics. Put it to you another way. Let's say you and I were in an airport and I were to ask you a question. I would say, who here in this airport do you think is disciplined? I bet you would look for someone that's physically fit,
Sure.
right? They didn't get that way by accident. They didn't, maybe they're, one out of a million people that's blessed with great genetics. But really the likelihood is, okay, that person is disciplined, they're exercising regularly, they're eating healthy. We can kind of tell. It's the same with skincare. These things don't happen by accident. So I would say it's really look at it from a holistic perspective. It's everything that we do, not just, hey, get up in the morning and put something on our skin. It's a holistic approach.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons, especially I love the information that we've gained today is I've gained so much more understanding around that holistic approach and what can be done. So you have studied skin health and overall wellness for years and years and developed incredible products around that. What was one of the biggest surprises for you from a learning standpoint relating to skin health?
I would say, um, I would say general health. I would look at health overall, not just the health of the skin. I think what continues to surprise me in research is that human beings are only still scratching the surface of their overall potential. There seems to be a trend, which I don't really like, um, having to do with putting things that are synthetic into the body. It's very, very concerning. So, for example, uh, Elon Musk is working on Neuralink. And this may have some incredible outcomes for people that are, let's say, paralyzed. But we have to think about when we're integrating technology into the human body, it has its negative consequences, meaning that the more exposure that we have to electronics, to Wi-Fi, to Bluetooth, this corrupts or can corrupt the natural biological field, energy field that's around each cell. We have signals that are traveling through our nervous system. We can use um, a superconducting magnetometer. It's called a squid magnetometer to measure the magnetic field around our brain and heart. These energy fields have a specific physiological function. And if we introduce technology into our environment, we can potentially damage our health. So I think the most surprising thing to me is that when God created us, we were given the capacity to adapt. A really good practical example of this is that we're in this soup of man-made radiation, yet by getting enough copper in our diet or through supplementation, the copper goes into our skin and the copper acts as a natural Faraday cage. In other words, that copper can shield us and protect us from these um, man-made synthetic radiations that can harm us. So we were created to adapt to these things. That to me is one of the most remarkable things about our creation.
Absolutely. And I think the Faraday cage is such an interesting analogy to consider. When companies often talk about skin health, they focus on the appearance. So many just solely focus on the appearance. As all of us are out sharing the message of LifeWave and the LifeWave products, what are some of the important messages we need to communicate? That it's not just about appearance, that it is more an indicator of general health and wellness.
Yeah, it's exactly that. We want to be able to, when we're talking about improving the health of the skin, we have to start with our foundation. We have to look inside. And it goes back to this fact that collagen is the most abundant protein in the body, and the amount of collagen our body produces over time decreases. So collagen, in effect, becomes a powerful subject relative to the subject of aging. So one of the best things that we can do to stop and reverse human aging is restore collagen production. And how do we do this? Well, we can do this through a number of natural means, as by elevating our body's levels of copper peptide or vitamin C or any of the other things that we talked about on the call. So the good thing is there are solutions today to virtually every problem associated with the problem of aging.
So many other thank yous coming up. I'll read a couple here. Thank you, David. Such an interesting webinar. Uh, exactly, David. Brilliant observation regarding ingesting anything synthetic. And David, I just, on behalf of all of us that are in the chat today and online watching, just want to thank you for increasing our understanding of wellness. I know that I'm more committed than ever to taking that comprehensive, holistic approach that you advocate so much for and inspire in all of us. And thank you again for these products that you've developed and brought into the world that we get the pleasure to share with our friends, families, and loved ones. So thanks for taking the time. We know you're so busy. You're all over the world all the time. I know you were just in Asia
Pleasure's
and
mine.
Denmark and back in Florida, but thank you for making the time to educate us on these products.
Absolutely. Thank you. The pleasure's mine. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you,
Thank you,
David, and
everyone.
thank you, everyone.